Hey guys, welcome to Neat Movie News. My name is Dean Thomas, and my review of X-Men Apocalypse. Now, I have been an absolutely huge fan of the X-Men franchise, and I guess let's just talk about simply the movies with the X-Men title in it. Other than X-Men The Last Stand, I have loved the other four movies. The original X-Men, X2 X-Men United, First Class, and Days of Future Past. I always shuffle between Days of Future Past and X-Men First Class as my favorite X-Men movie, although recently I think I've settled on X-Men First Class because what I really love about this new, younger version of the X-Men is the dynamic between Professor X and Magneto. James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender bring such weight and levity and emotional to these characters. It's just incredible to watch. You have some of the best actors working today in X-Men movies, and that's just something incredible. And they're actually given material that they can really shine on in these movies. So going into X-Men Apocalypse, I was so excited because First Class was great. Days of Future Past was almost as good, and like I said, I shuffled between the two. And for me, if I put those other four X-Men movies in my top four, I'm putting X-Men Apocalypse down at the fifth spot. This movie just doesn't quite live up to those other great movies. To me, a great X-Men movie is when it's all from the characters, what they're going through, and then of course there's some sort of big event going around them, normally revolving around both the divide between mutants and humans and their war between each other. Where I thought X-Men Apocalypse kind of faulted was they tried to go too big. Now obviously with the villain of Apocalypse trying to end the world, you got to go big, and maybe I guess I would have rather have seen them either used differently or maybe not used at all, because the scale of this movie is so large, and I just didn't think it paid off because this event is so large, and yet you're only focused on maybe less than 10 mutants in total, and it just didn't quite work for me. So much CGI, like so much CGI, where the other movies use it, but not to this extent. So many times I could tell they were on a set with a bunch of green screens. A lot of times there were just actors you could tell on wires in front of green screens. So it kind of just took me out of it. And there was a lot of forced stuff in here as well. I thought Apocalypse himself as the villain, Oscar Isaac played him well, but there was a few too many monologues, and some of his powers seemed convenient at times. But what I will say, as far as the brand new X-Men, because of course Fassbender and McAvoy as Professor X and Magneto brought their A game, some of their material they were given I didn't think was the greatest necessarily, but they themselves brought it as actors. But the brand new X-Men, I did not love the villains, the Four Horsemen otherwise with Apocalypse, but the new X-Men of Jean Grey, Cyclops, and Nightcrawler, those three especially, were major standouts, and I actually can't wait to see them moving forward. Cyclops was a big standout for me because I'm a big fan of Ty Sheridan from movies like Mud and Joe. So I was really looking forward to him, and I think he paid off, and it makes me more excited to see him going forward. And I will also say Quicksilver has a little bit larger of a role in this movie, and that's great because it also hints at a larger role for him going forward, and he's a character that deserves to be seen a lot more. But the quote-unquote Quicksilver scene in Days of Future Past, they tried to one-up it in this one. And as far as what happens in the scene is great, but it felt kind of forced, and the impact and execution of it I didn't think was there. As Days of Future Past, it worked so well. It was needed for the story. I feel like this one they just threw it in to throw it in just because they wanted to see if they could top it. But that being said, Quicksilver is still a great piece to this movie, and I'm really excited to see him going forward because it seems like he'll be around a while. And obviously a lot of people are talking about the Wolverine cameo. Well, it does feel a little forced, and I wish there was a little bit more to it. I do think it's a very cool cameo, and all I will say is it gets me very excited for an R-rated Wolverine movie because it works so well, and you can tell they're keeping a lot of stuff out of it for this PG-13 movie, which I have to say there's a lot of very brutal violence and kind of a little bit of gore at times in this movie that kind of surprised me for a PG-13 movie, but it was PG-13. So there you guys have it. Those are my overall thoughts of X-Men Apocalypse. I could probably talk about a lot more. It's a 2.5 hour movie, so I'm sure I missed a lot. So if there's anything that I missed that you want to know, or you saw the movie and thought I should have talked about, feel free to jump in the comments below and let me know. But as my score goes for X-Men Apocalypse, there's enough redeeming things with new characters and certain things that I'm willing to give X-Men Apocalypse I'll give it a 60%. I was kind of in between 60 and 70 the whole movie, but I landed on a 60 because overall, like I had some major problems with the CGI. The story was a little too much. They went too heavy on the action in this movie and got away from the really character-driven stuff that I loved in the past couple movies. So I'm hoping they get back to that going forward. So X-Men Apocalypse was definitely a little bit of a letdown for me. It's not a bad movie, but it definitely doesn't meet my expectations and doesn't meet the quality of the other movies. There you guys have it. That is my review of X-Men Apocalypse. Make sure you're following me on Twitter at NeatMovieNews for all the latest in the world of movie news. And also check out our weekly show, the Neat Movie News Show. I just have a new episode coming up here very shortly for this Memorial Day weekend. So please check that out and give it a like there as well. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you back here next time.